Okay, here we go again. Today we are going to do two techniques. Wet on wet is one, and we're going to do salt, and you must have wet paper for the salt to work. And I think I'm going to throw in the alcohol technique as well. I don't have enough alcohol containers, and alcohol containers will be in a little jar, little bit of alcohol. It's rubbing alcohol, and some regular table salt. If you're at home, I think you can try any kind of salt. I do have some Himalaya salt, but I think regular salt works the best. At school, I think I have some really coarse salt as well. So you can play with those and see what you like. Okay, I'm going to share a screen so we can go over. Here we go. Sure I am. share, and let's enlarge this and move my little picture over here. Share. Okay, again, you will get newspaper. This is day 2. Okay, you'll get newspaper, 2 cups, bowls, yogurt containers, 2 with water. I don't fill them all the way up. I don't want to make a huge mess. Can you guys see? I do about this much water. You can always go change your water if it gets too dirty. Again, this one's for clean. This one's to clean my brush. This one's for mixing water for paint. 2 fluffy brushes. And of course I can't demonstrate how fluffy they are because they're wet because I use them. If you watched yesterday's video, I went ahead and washed this out. If you're ever wondering how to wash these out or going to the sink at the end of class, I just hold it to the side. Remember, we're not letting any standing water build up in our paint pots, okay? Because otherwise, when you turn to the side, all that paint would just be everywhere and it'd be a huge mess, and a huge mess for the next student that's using these paints. So I just go like this with my brush and just rinse out. The water's running right here and I just rinse out. So it's pretty basic. Okay, here we go. So it doesn't really matter which brush. Don't forget, you're going to get 4 strips. I'm just going to demonstrate with 2. Find the smooth side, the rough side. So I'm going to write my name on the smooth side, Miss Leslie. And again, you guys know me. I like a date. I think that's important. 10/31/21. This one, let's see. This is the smooth side. I'm going to write my name, Miss Leslie, 10/31/21. Okay, flip them over and put one aside so you don't get paint all over it. All right, so wet on wet. So there are a couple ways to do wet on wet. You could just start, and of course there's nothing in here now, otherwise I would just be using this one. I can, let's see, what do I want to do first? Let's get this wet, and I'm just making a light coating. I'm not trying to soak my paper to death, just a light coat. And then I'm going to drip some water in here. Okay, and let's do a purple. Yeah, let's do a purple. Maybe I should have done blue and added purple to do wet on wet. Maybe I'll do that. So I'm going to mix up some purple here. Scrape off on the side. Rinse my brush. Hopefully my paper doesn't dry out by the time I do this. Okay, I'm going to get some water and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some water in here and I'm going to do blue. Okay, rinse this off. Get me some blue pigment. Okay, it's not very blue, not blue enough for me. So get some more pigment. Remember, you do not want standing water in these little paint pots or you'll make the paint sticky and disgusting for the next kid. So be wary of that, and it makes cleanup much easier. Okay, I got some blue going on. Oh, it's still wet. Let's see how it does. I'm going to go ahead and smear this on it. I'm going to do all blue. Do you see how it's moving? Can you see it growing? Let's see if I go in closer. I got things in the way here. Can you see what it does? Well, it's a little dry there now. Anyway, I'm going to get this all wet with blue, and then I'm going to add some purple to it. So hopefully it's wet enough. If your paper isn't wet enough, then you miss out on the cool effect. So clear. Let's get some purple in here and let's see what we can do. It's not giving me the effect I want, but you can see that wet on wet allows your paints to flow. And again, I showed this on the last video, kind of cool. Now, because it's wet, let's go ahead and talk about that salt technique. I just pour a little bit in my hand. I don't sprinkle it on, then it's not concentrated enough. And I decide where I want the salt. And I don't know, here, let me see if I can do this so you guys can see what that salt is doing. See if I can go a little closer. I want you to see the salt grabs the paint and it gives a cool effect. And once it's dry, you can scrape the salt off, not on the floor, but over the garbage can. And you end up with this cool effect, almost like it's frosty. And I love that because I like playing with paint. Plus I like to watch the paint move when you add techniques. And of course it's so bright in my house that normally in class, hopefully it shows up better. When you do it, it will show up really cool. It's so bright in my house. I apologize. Maybe if I sit right here. Nope, not gonna help. Okay, I'm gonna back out and play. Okay, I'm gonna leave that, let it sit. When it dries, like the next day when you come back to class, you can get it and you can scrape that salt off and you'll see the really fun effect. And I will have lots of pictures on the slideshow of what the salt effect looks like. I just love it. Let's try another one. I'm gonna set this one to the side. I still have salt in my hand. Okay, let me get my other strip up here. It has my name on it. Notice, don't forget your name. Okay. And I'm going to set my salt right here because I can easily sweep that into my hand and do it again. Okay, let's see. What should we do? What should we do? I'm going to rinse off my brush real good, make sure I don't have any paint in it. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and get this wet. Again, it's a thin layer. And I'm going to play with that purple. And let's go up close so you can see the effects. Do you see how it danced? I wish you could see just how cool that is. It's not as cool on the dot cam as it is in person. You will really have fun playing with this. You will have fun. I'm gonna rinse my brush. I'm gonna grab some of that blue. Yes, the sound effects make a difference. I know you can't see it all. Let's go back out. I wish it wasn't so bright in here. So you could see just how pretty that was. Now what's cool about this is that once it's dry, I like to do what's called the Sharpie technique. And sometimes I see little creations, little creatures, little designs. I start seeing pictures in the paint. Notice what paint does normally, it just sits. So this is all dry now. But if it's wet, because this is the wet on wet technique, it will spread out. Anyway, I like to take my Sharpies after I have my dry strips and I like to see what designs or creatures I see in the paint as it dries. And I use a Sharpie and I'll show you how to do those. So I'm gonna mess with this salt. Sweep that salt over to my hand. Don't sweep salt on the floor, okay? Salt is very corrosive, and if you're doing this at home, you don't want it on the floor and in your mom's carpet or anything like that. Now, I am noticing that it's a little dry, and you will not get good salt technique if it's dry. Okay. This is going to give me a really cool frosty effect. Again, if it's too dry, your salt, it's not going to have any effect. You're not going to see the salt sucking up the water. Okay. Let's see. I've got a garbage right here. I'm going to dump the rest of that salt in there, and I'm going to set this to the side. And I'm going to do one more just because I want to show that salt technique. This, don't forget your name. And you are going to do 4 strips. You can always do more. 10, 31, 21. You can always do more strips in class if you have time, but your goal is to get done with 4 in a class period. Okay, let's see. I am going to make my paint first. And I want to add a little green in here. Green and blue make a nice teal color. You can make some really good purples by adding red and purple together, red and blue together, and make your own purple. Play with mixing colors, you guys. I think you'll have fun with that. So I'm going to clean my brush because I'm making my paint first before I get this wet because I don't want it to dry. Okay, let's get some clean water and let's go here. Let's mix some red in here. And I need more pigment. Okay, I'm gonna rinse this. And I'm gonna grab a little blue and I just wanna show you, ooh, whoa, that's really purpley. But it's a different purple than the purple that comes in your paints. Okay. The purple and the teal are appealing to me. Okay. I am going to, what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to get this wet first and I'm going to do teal at one end and purple at the other. And spread out that water. Okay, I'm going to come and get this teal. I lied, I'm going to do it all the way through. I'm going to get this. Maybe I'll grab some of this too. And there's no rhyme or reason because I like to watch what it does when it dries and I like to come back and do the Sharpie effect. I'm hoping you can see what the salt does when it's really wet. It starts grabbing up the paint. Do, 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 do. Okay, throw the salt away. I wish it wasn't so bright so you could see how vibrant the colors are. Ooh, notice what the water does. It's going to make it all a generic color. It's going to mix all my color. What happens when we mix all the colors? We get mud and gray. Nice. I love it for a demo. Not really, but okay. So I'm going to set this one aside. Demos didn't turn out as much as or as nice as I'd like. Hopefully in class we get some cooler demos. But I'm going to go for now. Okay. That's what we're going to do in class. Okay. And I'm going to end this and then I'm going to do an alcohol technique for tomorrow. Okay. Bye.